all the oil the United States ever went to war over in the Middle East is a rounding error compared to what's sitting beneath the Arctic seabed. The Arctic holds an estimated 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of the undiscovered natural gas, and massive deposits of rare earth minerals. And right now, 3 men are fighting under the rug, deciding who gets it. Last week, Donald Trump flew to Beijing. 5 days later, Vladimir Putin was right there. They both made the pilgrimage to the same man, Xi Jinping, in a span of a week. And I was wondering, what was the elephant in the room during their trade and tariffs discussions? Was it Ukraine? Was it Iran? Nope. The elephant at the negotiation table was made of ice, Arctic ice. And what's more important are the undiscovered and unmatched reserves that can bring trillions dollars to whoever controls the Arctic. Quick favor, if this is already blowing your mind and we're only a minute in, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I promise the rest is worth it. Here's what's most important and what people don't realize. The negotiations between Trump and Putin, the ones we've been told are about ending the war in Ukraine, have always had a second agenda, the Arctic. And I'm not speculating here. When Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, sat down with Putin's economic negotiator, Kirill Dmitriev, in Riyadh back in February 2025, Arctic cooperation was explicitly on the table. Dmitriev told CNN afterward that Russia is open to economic cooperation with the United States on energy. Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov, said publicly before the Alaska summit that the Arctic is where American and Russian economic interests converge. And then the leaked peace plan for Ukraine made it obvious. The version analyzed by the Center for Strategic and International Studies includes Provision 13, which calls for joint US-Russian rare earth metal extraction projects in the Arctic as part of the post-Ukraine war economic agreement. Let's repeat. The plan to end the war in Ukraine includes a plan to divide up the Arctic. Well, that's something. And where is China here? China is Putin's leverage. Although China is not an Arctic country, you might say, and you are right. It has no Arctic coastline, obviously, no territory above the circle, no historical claim to any of it. But in 2018, Beijing published an official white paper declaring itself a near-Arctic state. That's the actual term, the near-Arctic state. Well, let me now declare myself a near NBA player with my 5'2", because I watched not one, but a few basketball games. Well, except with China, nobody's laughing. Because China backed that claim with money. They've been building toward what they call the Polar Silk Road, an extension of their Belt and Road project through the Arctic. As new technologies arise and as ice melts, new shipping lanes open between Asia and Europe, and they cut weeks of transit time. Whoever controls those lanes controls a massive piece of global trade. And if oil, gas, and trade routes aren't enough, in 2024, China and Russia launched their first joint military patrol in the Arctic. Russia has the geography, the longest Arctic coastline of any country. It has over 40 icebreakers. The United States, by comparison, has 3. Trump was so alarmed when he learned this that he ordered 11 new ones built through an emergency deal with Finland. First delivery? 2028. But apart from geography, Russia doesn't have much. Most importantly, it doesn't have the capital. It doesn't have the technology to extract those resources alone. Western sanctions made sure of that. So Putin has two options: partner with Xi or partner with Trump. And that is Putin's real card. Think about it from Putin's side. He is basically sitting on trillions, trillions, and trillions of dollars worth of Arctic resources he cannot touch. He's locked out of Western capital markets, his economy is under strain, and his only current development partner is China, a country that drives a brutally hard bargain and has zero interest in treating Russia as an equal in any way. Case in point, Putin just visited Xi yesterday. They signed 20 cooperation agreements. But the most important for Russia, Power of Siberia 2 pipeline, a massive gas project Putin has been pushing for years, was notably absent from those agreements. China is very happy to buy Russian gas at a steep discount, but invest in Russian Arctic infrastructure on terms that benefit Moscow? No, 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 no. Beijing is in no rush to do that. So Putin turns to Trump and says, lift the sanctions, end the war on my terms, and I'll let American companies into the Arctic instead of Chinese ones. Rare earths, oil, gas, shipping routes, all yours. And Trump, the man who threatened military force to take Greenland because of the Arctic, whose national security strategy puts Arctic dominance front and center, who spent $8 billion on icebreakers he won't see until the end of his term, Trump might hear that and think, now that's a deal I understand. Ukraine? Ukraine is not the deal. Ukraine is the thing standing in the way of the deal. This is the part that should bother you no matter where you stand politically. For years, we've been told that these negotiations are about peace, about ending the suffering of the Ukrainian people, about sovereignty and international law. And yes, this is true. It's exactly like that. But beneath it all, beneath the peace plans and the summits and the envoys, there is a resource fight happening. In 2007, Russian divers planted a ceremonial Russian flag on the seabed beneath the North Pole, claiming thousands of square kilometers of the Arctic seabed for Russia and adding documentation to be revised by the UN Maritime Commission. Oh, it was 20 years ago. At that time, people just laughed. It was a show. Well, nothing serious. In 2023, during the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a UN commission validated most of Russia's territorial claims, potentially adding 1.7 million square kilometers of seabed to Russian jurisdiction. Are we laughing now? Well, when Americans think about wars fought over oil, they think about Iraq, they think about Venezuela, they think about the Middle East. But here's the thing, the Middle East is yesterday's game. The Arctic is tomorrow's. And the opening moves are being made right now, in a span of a few days, in the same city, with the same men in front. Behind the fog of classic, loud deals, Trump, the outlines of a classic Cold War are clearly visible. Except this one isn't about ideology. It's about who controls the last great unclaimed resource frontier on Earth. In the Arctic and Ukraine war negotiations simultaneously, the people of Ukraine are not at the table. They're on it. Trump, Putin, Xi. Who controls the Arctic? That man will win dramatically in the coming years. I'm Alexandra Filippenko. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.